For the first 16 years of my life, I actively avoided anime. I don't really have a good reason as to why. I guess I was just scared of it. You see, my first exposure to the medium was through my school's least respected social group, the anime kids. I'm sure your school had some too. And although I was actually friends with a lot of these people, I'd be lying if I said they weren't kinda weird. They wore Naruto headbands every day, they drew fan art during lunch, and you could always count on them to be shouting some quote behind the library after the final bell rang. I think part of their bad reputation came from the fact that the anime kids were incredibly outspoken about their love for the medium. These kids weren't just fans, like I was a fan of Psych. They weren't even fans like the somewhat crazed Hunger Game groupies. They were a whole new breed of enthusiast. And back in 2010, enthusiasm wasn't really in vogue. Fast forward to 2013. I was a senior in high school, a little less self-conscious, and yes, somewhat curious about Japanese cartoons. A few of my friends gave me the gateway drugs: Avatar: The Last Airbender and Miyazaki. By the time I had finished Spirited Away, I knew I had to watch more. The artistry was breathtaking, and story-wise, they were so different from anything I had ever seen. I wouldn't say I was exactly a fan yet, or even close to an anime kid, but I was deeply intrigued. Let that simmer a bit, and as of today, I've watched over 100 different anime series. And while I wouldn't even consider myself close to a real otaku, I do know what the word otaku means. With that, I present to you this list. The 7 anime that made me realize I kinda like anime. These are the shows that converted me, gateway drugs excluded. The few series that really kicked my expectations to the curb and dismissed my initial dismissiveness. And whether you've heard of these titles or not, I hope that me talking about these shows inspires you to get a little out of your comfort zone and try something new. You might just find a new favorite. Remember Sky High? Well, think that, but like 100 times better. My Hero Academia is about a powerless young boy in an era where most of the world has some kind of super abilities. His one dream is to become a hero and to help others, and when he gets the opportunity, he takes it and goes to a school for exceptionally powerful children. The show has an insane color palette, intensely animated action sequences, and some of the greatest character design I have ever seen. Each crowd shot is filled with all sorts of varied alien-esque superpowered populace, and you really get a sense of tone and place.
One look at that dopey grin and I know what you are. A fanboy.
Sorta.
For me, the charm of Academia comes from its trope subversion. In a lot of shows about superheroes, we watch the confident protagonists focus on getting stronger in a very literal sense. Batman gets a new suit, Daredevil learns to punch better, and Deadpool puts in more effort. These heroes know who they are, and they struggle more with the implications of that, rather than in finding themselves. It's an engaging conflict when done well, but I've seen it a lot in the genre. My Hero Academia decides to go a very different route. The lead, Izuku Midoriya, is not confident, but despite this, he loves heroism, and he desperately wants to attain power in order to help others. Sometimes that power is literal, but more often than not, we find Midoriya gaining his power through everyday life lessons. He's learning how to be a better person, and in turn, this makes him a better hero. The same trope subversion can be seen in the supporting cast. The strong and powerful Superman type, All Might, is a little ditzy, and as a teacher at Midoriya's school, he's forced to rely on the parts of himself that aren't as strong. The top-of-the-class perfectionist, Tenya Ida, is forced to confront failure. The more reserved Ochako Uraraka learns to be disciplined and assertive, etc., etc. All in all, My Hero Academia is sweet, unexpected, and 100% worth your time. Your Lie in April made me cry more times than I'd like to admit. If you're a hopeless romantic, a sucker for drama, or really just a human, you'll be enthralled. The tale of a piano prodigy navigating the worlds of grief, love, and art, every action in this show has a dual effect. A song is not just a song. It's a pained expression of freedom, a remorseful cry to the past, a loving extension of hope. I watched the entire thing on Netflix in one night before a midterm, and honestly, worth it. Your Lie kills it on all fronts and manages to make piano recitals look like the coolest thing in the universe. It might not be the best anime to start out on, but only because it's so wondrously thought out, it'll make just about everything else look subpar by comparison. Created by the same artist behind One Punch Man, the off-the-wall nature of Mob Psycho 100 makes it a great addition to the Psychic Kid Entertainment Hall of Fame. The series revolves around a PK prodigy named Mob, who, like most junior high boys, finds himself in the middle of con schemes, gang wars, and the occasional kidnapping. Each scenario is more creative than the last, simultaneously poking fun at tropes while relishing in the ways it separates itself from the pack. The design of the show is where Mob Psycho truly shines, utilizing a rough, exaggerated look to complement its energetic comedic stylings. It's the kind of show you don't want to look away from. Surreal, colorful, and full of movement. If that weren't enough, the anime decides to toss in a few of these experimental scenes to spice up the pot. I couldn't exactly find what was used to create these sequences, but from my uneducated eye, it looks like a combination of pencil sketches and thick paint on glass. Frickin' bravo. In addition to this, Mob Psycho 100 subtly proves itself to be distinctly human, even though a main character looks like a fart cloud. Insecure, repressed, clawing for what they don't have, but always likable. The leads are the heart of this series, and ground what would otherwise be way too much absurdity. I especially love the bromance between fake medium Reigen Arataka and the aforementioned Mob. Both guys constantly remind each other to be humble despite their talents, ambitious despite their weaknesses, and compassionate above all else. Eat your freaking heart out, Drake and Josh. Samurai Champloo is freaking wackadoo. A sort of reimagining of Japan's Edo era, the anime relies on a lot of hip-hop aesthetics and does an immaculate job blending ideas that are seemingly opposed. East and West, classic and modern, good and evil, you get the picture. The show centers on three people. Mugen, a free-spirited rogue, Jin, a disgraced samurai who thoughtfully enters the fray, and Fu, a somewhat naive but brave tea shop waitress who unites the team together. It's a trio that's been done 100 times in 100 ways. You see them in the classic westerns, 70s sci-fi, and your favorite teen fantasies. But the nuances in Champloo give the archetypes a life all their own. We find our heroes diverted from their mission to search for basic necessities like food or water. They're often ready to kill or betray each other at a moment's notice, and unlike the trios in the same vein, Mugen, Jin, and Fu are always splitting up. Their dynamic feels less like a team and more like a group of individuals who grow closer through mere happenstance and fate. There's nothing quite like it, and if you aren't suckered in by the sheer uniqueness of it all, the gorgeously choreographed fight sequences will surely hold your attention. I've rewatched Barakamon more than anything on this list, 5 times at the recording of this video. The slice of life anime opens on Seishu Honda, a young but talented calligrapher who beats up an old man for harshly critiquing his art. Because of this incident, Honda is sent away by his father to one of Japan's rural islands, hoping it will help his son find some much-needed perspective. What follows is a tale of whimsy, childhood, and learning how to better yourself. It's chock-a-block full of memorable moments and manages to slip in some interesting tidbits of Japanese culture. The real star of the series is not Honda, however, but 7-year-old Naru. She's expertly written and has all sorts of flaws, dreams, and emotional depth. You don't see 3-dimensional 7-year-olds in entertainment very often, and if you do, they're probably sad, or on the run. Naru defies all expectations just by capturing that genuine happiness of being a precocious preschooler. Her addition elevates the plot to a height I never expected from reading the description, and I can't wait for rewatch number 6. Certainly the most violent pick on my list, Death Parade is an ethereal trip that consumed me with its premise. Set in a mysterious afterlife where dead souls are judged for their actions on Earth, the perspective of the show consistently switches between new guests, the supernatural beings tasked with judging the dead, called arbiters, and one specific case of a woman who realized she had died before any judgment could begin. Just about everything in this show is a gorgeous extension of world building. The web of structure excellently pairs with the enigmatic setting, the tone ricochets between emotions to enhance the idea that the nature of the soul is exaggerated in this bizarre realm, and the animation/color palette floats with deep purples and blues to produce something haunting but familiar. There's a cerebral element to Death Parade too, where the show almost challenges you to think more about your own value systems. What do you think justice looks like? Can it be given at all? Why do we seek it out? It's a show that plays with a lot of concepts I haven't really seen played a lot with, and if you can stomach some of the bloodier sequences, it's definitely worth a viewing. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is the best kind of art. Unapologetically daring, technically marvelous, and willing to examine both the highest highs and lowest lows of humanity. It's also the kind of thing that can only exist as an anime. A single feature film could never grasp the thematic scope of its 68-episode lifespan. A live-action series or graphic novel couldn't capture the brilliantly kinetic representative art style, and no Western production would ever greenlight something so innocent and yet so mature. In essence, it's a coming-of-age tale for two young brothers, set upon the backdrop of a war-torn country, with the delicious pulp of magical kung fu lathered across the top. But Brotherhood is so much more than that. It's a love story, it's a tragedy, it's even an off-the-wall comedy. You'll find Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood at the top of just about every top 10 anime list, and while I don't want to be a stereotype, I just can't deny how intensely important this anime is to my entire perspective of anime. There are some shows, in fact most shows, that are very good at doing one thing. They capture you in an instant and weave this majestic tapestry to give you exactly what they promise. It's great, and I love it and you love it, and we all leave happy. And then there are shows like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and it doesn't just do one thing, it does everything. It has one of the largest casts I've ever seen, but still manages to give every character depth and purpose. The music is tonally brilliant, soaring from an epic battle cry into a gentle whisper, and plot-wise, there is nothing that even compares to its reach and structural prowess. When a piece of art covers that much ground, with an expert attention to detail and superb execution, I just have to sit back in utter awe. I can't believe this show exists. It is simply unbelievable. And if that doesn't get a few of you 2010 Isaacs interested, I don't know what will. Thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to share, comment, and thumbs up me, because I hear that's what YouTube really cares about these days, and blah blah blah. As far as the future goes, I'm trying to upload at least one video a month, so subscribe below. Written reviews will come out weekly over at isaac.lastname.com/blog. And I have a Twitter too, so if that's your jam, I twit. Thanks again for watching, and bye y'all.